almost mid-March. Got my favorite helper here with me. One of my favorite helpers. If my dogs understood English, the other three would be jealous. Come on, get out of the way. And what we're doing here, we just ran some new cables, some nice thick 6-gauge cabling for our trolling motor that relocated the battery from the middle of the boat to the back. And we are going to put some ends on it. Now the helper is helping me watch guard, stay guard. Very good. Mailman won't know what came after him. So, minimum, we want to strip this wire. We want to take our eyelet and crimp it on. Just crimping it though is not the most reliable repair, especially on a boat. So we're going to shrink tube it with weather or adhesive lined, yeah, we'll call it adhesive lined shrink tube. And that is going to seal everything up nicely for us. So first thing we want to do, wire strippers won't work on a 6-gauge, so we got cable cutters, and we are just going to strip that insulation away. X-Acto knife can do the same thing, just be careful with it. Don't want to cut any of the wire strands. Take a look inside our insulation. Oh, it's almost like I've done this before. No wire strands cut. Give our wire a nice little twist there, keep all the strands together. Oh, let's not do that. Let's get those strands in there nice and deep black. Okay, eyelet on, fantastic. How do you crimp this? Regular cheap wire stripper crimpers aren't going to work. Vice grips and angle it a bit. They'll work if you don't have anything else. Let's use this lovely crimping tool. Back in the day when I bought it, it was only about 30-40 bucks, but I'm sure it's a few more dollars these days. And it works very simply. You take your multi-axis swing press and give it a nice light but firm tap. And here we go. That's probably good enough. Oh, right as I said that, that's pretty good. Okay, let's get that back in. I do not give these away, so let's fix that mistake. Don't want any of my... See, and this is why we solder. That was a great example. I did that on purpose, just so you could see. Come on. No strands left behind. Maybe a couple strands left behind. Okay, I'm gonna put that in a spot that's a little bit more solid. And give it a more solid whack this time. Hey, double check your work. That's important, that's better. But let's make it more better. I'm gonna use a butane torch. I can totally see the end of it in this bright spring light. So our goal here, the flame should be out somewhere around, there we go, I just see it there. We want to heat up our eyelet here. We don't want to heat it too close to the end or we're going to melt our insulation. So let's get a little bit of solder melted on there. That's just globbing it on, that's not doing anything. But once it heats up a little bit, you'll really see it melt into the wire and into the eyelet, and that's what we want. And that'll bond these for life. Okay. Ideally, you'd like to heat the wire and the eyelet evenly so it bonds with them both at the same time. Whoa. Oh, look at that. That melted in pretty nice. Like a little bit more heat on the wire there. Yeah, that melted in. Okay, that's nice. Shut that off before we move it. Take a nice close look. Yeah, it's getting a little warm. Come on, camera, focus. There we go. That's what it should look like. That is tight. I'm all about double checking your work, but don't pull on that for a minute, because that is warm. So let's go to our final step. I got some shrink tube. Paid the extra money for this as adhesive lined. You want to make sure you go with that because that will give you a really good weather seal. I'll get it on there. That one's pretty big. I probably could have gone a size lower, but it shrinks down pretty good. Better idea to use a heat gun than a torch here so that you're less likely to scorch the weather stripping. I'm just gonna move my torch away a little bit and try to give it some time to let it work. If you get too close, too hot, it'll scorch it. In this particular scenario, it's not the end of the world. But if it was something a little more critical, like an engine harness or something, you'd really want to make sure you don't scorch it, don't damage it. See some of that goop coming out of the end, and that's that adhesive liner that really seals all of the weather out of it, helps it last longer. And I say that we have an open connection on the end where it's exposed to the air, so you use a battery sealer or something. That'll help keep it lasting a little bit longer. Oh, this is riveting material, isn't it? Watching the heat shrink. Oh, started to scorch her a little bit there. Very soon we'll be out on the water doing fishing videos. Walleye run's gonna kick off and we're gonna be ready. By taking the time to do this stuff right, our trolling motor's not gonna stop on us right when we catch our big fish. That's a little bit bulkier on the end than maybe what we needed to do. If I'd used some smaller shrink tube, wouldn't be so bulky, but it's our auxiliary battery. Its purpose in life is to keep our trolling motor alive, and it'll be pretty good for that. I'm happy with that. I'll install that on the battery, torque it down, put some sealer on it, and away we go. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.